Throughout gaming history, there's been many franchises that have become popular and accumulated massive fan bases, but there's very few that can claim they've sold more than 280 million copies and amassed more than $12 billion in revenue. One of those franchises is none other than Call of Duty. That name alone encapsulates a wide variety of feelings and nostalgia in so many of us. For me personally, that name this generation is mostly associated with disappointment, greed, and mediocrity. However, last generation, even though I was a Halo and Battlefield fanboy during my younger days, I always associated the name Call of Duty with a quality story, an addicting multiplayer, a great co-op mode, and of course, it meant being part of a large community and an amazing culture. Well, now as this console generation is coming to an end, it looks like that Call of Duty name may finally carry the same weight as it once did, as this year's COD is a revival of one of the most beloved series in the entire franchise, Modern Warfare. And yes, I know there are a lot of people that still hate Call of Duty all these years later, don't have trust in the franchise after Black Ops 4 turned into a microtransaction monster, or are taking a stance against Modern Warfare once Activision announced that it was making the Spec Ops survival mode exclusive to PlayStation for an entire year. However, with the recent news of no loot boxes being included in the game, and the confirmation that the only planned post-launch monetization model will be in the form of a battle pass, Modern Warfare is shaping up to not just be a great product, but a game changer, as this is the first game in years that won't only be packed full of quality content, but is actually bringing back to life an element of gaming that's been lost in recent years. And that's the worldwide hype and excitement that used to surround blockbuster games, to create a feeling that every gamer around the globe is part of one community experiencing one incredible event together, all at the same time. The last AAA game to have this kind of excitement surrounding it was Destiny 2, but what Modern Warfare is doing is leagues above that. So now to see why I, and so many others, are excited not just for Modern Warfare, but what it presents to the gaming community, let's take a dive into why this Call of Duty in particular is set to be one of the biggest games this console generation. When you think of Call of Duty, the first thing that comes into your mind is probably the incredibly addicting multiplayer. But for me, it means having that adrenaline-fueled multiplayer alongside a campaign that is both fun to play and has a story that's interesting enough to be worthy of the silver screen, as well as a compelling and well-crafted co-op mode. After all, I don't think I'm alone in thinking that all three Modern Warfare games had impeccable trailers, especially the Modern Warfare 2 one with that incredible soundtrack by Hans Zimmer. While last year with Black Ops 4, we sadly had the campaign replace the Battle Royale, this year's Modern Warfare is bringing the story back, and this is set to be one of the best COD campaigns yet, as extra emphasis has been put into making sure the story is a selling point of the game all on its own. The story has also been created with the main goals of being visceral, uncompromising, thought-provoking, and of course, packed full of gritty realism. In this story, players will switch between many characters and many viewpoints that take place in locations ranging from European cities to volatile expanses in the Middle East. The studio head for this game has stated this entire story has been influenced from the controversial Modern Warfare 2 mission, No Russian, and that players will explore the gray area of war and have to make moral choices such as whether or not to shoot someone as they may be reaching for their child or grabbing an assault rifle. And to make sure it's done as accurate and faithful as possible, they've even had a massive list of diverse consultants to help guide them through development.
Having spent a lot of time in different conflicts around the world, I was able to give the creative team a deeper understanding of what it's like on the ground and what the civilians who have been caught in the crossfire are experiencing.
To me and millions of others, this is exactly the kind of 15 to 20 hour campaign that we all want. An experience that properly demonstrates the horrific and brutal realities of war. Oh, and just in case you're still a little skeptical on its quality, what has been shown off so far behind closed doors has greatly triggered employees from IGN, which obviously, for most of us gamers, means the game is doing something right.
At least personally, I feel like I don't necessarily want to play 15 to 20 hours of what I was just shown.
It's very jarring,
Yes.
and I found myself feeling extremely uncomfortable during the demo.
It also helps out that the campaign is sure to look amazing, with an incredible new graphics engine and state-of-the-art motion capture being used for the cutscenes and cinematics. Hence why our favorite badass character Captain Price is the most detailed version yet and looks incredibly lifelike. With Moving on from the story, the next feature that's being brought back after its 8-year absence is the fan-favorite mode Spec Ops. In Modern Warfare, the Spec Ops mode is a 4-player co-op PvE experience that takes place as operations on a wide variety of multi-stage maps. In this mode, you'll be able to use your favorite kill streaks, use a plethora of vehicles for battlefield domination, utilize strategies such as tackling missions stealthily or going in guns blazing, pick a class that best suits your playstyle, and most importantly, work together with your team to successfully complete the missions. Also, just like in Modern Warfare 2 and 3, this game will have a 3-star rating system, and moreover, it will receive additional maps and updates throughout the free post-launch roadmap. Unfortunately, only PlayStation users will have access to the Spec Ops Horde-like mode called Survival until October 1st of 2020. But moving on from this mode, we have the third COD pillar that is arguably the most important to their fanbase, the multiplayer. Now, I've already done a video that was entirely dedicated to just how great this game's multiplayer was, but the main points of what I said there still deserves to be discussed here. In Modern Warfare, the gameplay is still very much Call of Duty, with nothing too drastic changing from the classic Modern Warfare trilogy, although now you can switch fire modes on your gun, reload while ADS, and mount your guns on surfaces and around corners. This stellar new evolved gameplay is joined by the guns now looking and sounding better than ever, thanks to amazing leaps in audio design where every sound and movement of guns has been recorded, along with the bullets now acting as realistic projectiles with real-life physics, dictating their in-game characteristics over the previous method of hit scan. And to take full advantage of these improvements, this game even has a gun bench, where you can modify guns to your heart's content, with an absolutely insane amount of customization, allowing you to entirely change the mechanics and nature of a gun. Infinity Ward didn't just try and make the game be the best in terms of gameplay and gun customization, as they've also tried to make it a game that any FPS fan can enjoy, by offering the largest assortment of game modes yet. There have been lots of leaks online showing all the game modes that will be available in the full release, but even just judging by what was in the beta, it doesn't matter if you're a fan of slower paced tactical shooters. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of one-life elimination modes. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of objective-based modes or simply only want to get kills. It doesn't even matter if you're a fan of those absolutely massive battlefield modes. Modern Warfare is packed with an insane amount of variety, and even if you don't like some modes, chances are you'll find at least one or two that are fun enough to keep you addicted for hundreds of hours. Like I stated in my past video, I have several personal issues with Ground War and Team Deathmatch, but the new Search and Destroy, 2v2 Gunfight, and my personal favorite, the Night Vision Game Mode, were all incredible, and I never felt like putting the controller down. In fact, this is the first game in a damn long time that's had this kind of effect on me. Now, despite what your overall opinions on Call of Duty are, or even your feelings towards that corrupt monster we all call Activision, there's one last amazing feature that Modern Warfare has that's helping this game feel like a worldwide event, and that is the inclusion of cross-platform multiplayer. On day one, players on Xbox One, PS4, and PC can all play every multiplayer mode together. This is the series first and one of gaming's first, as Sony has been rather stingy about cross-platform play until now. But thankfully, Sony has finally allowed Call of Duty to bring their goal to life of one unified player base, and of course to help the community feel unified throughout the game's post-launch, there will be no season pass, and all DLC modes, maps, and more will be released simultaneously across all platforms. This feature's importance cannot be overstated, as this alone really is making history in the big budget AAA game space, and that feeling of knowing you're not just playing a game, but experiencing a product with players all over the globe is truly amazing. And immediately, it brings me back to the last generation when people were still genuinely excited for games, and only 1 or 2 juggernaut titles came out a year, making those release dates an experience all on their own, with midnight release parties, split-screen and LAN events full of soda and Doritos, and skipping school or calling in sick to work so that you could play all day long after you finally got your hands on a game that you've been waiting years to play. That's the kind of feeling that I've desperately missed this generation. And even though many of my favorite franchises have all had sequels this generation, such as Halo 5 Guardians, Gears 5, Mass Effect Andromeda, and even Battlefield 5, all those games have been disappointing and lacking that X factor that truly makes me fall in love with the game. Yet somehow, even though Call of Duty has never been my favorite franchise, it seems like Modern Warfare may be the game to finally revive that old gaming culture and give us that nostalgic sense that so many of us desperately miss. The next generation of consoles are rapidly approaching, and while Call of Duty has had an extremely rough time this generation, along with so many other franchises, as free-to-play, microtransactions, and loot boxes have been prioritized over games being complete quality products, it's still shaping up to be a last hurrah for the series and a great way to end this generation, with an amazing detailed and gritty story, a revamped and modified Spec Ops, and of course, the largest and most diverse offering of its award-winning multiplayer. Now the game isn't perfect, as there are still issues with some game modes, the spawning can still be rough, and it's missing epic and unique music that's been found in many COD games during their menu themes. The start of a match?
Team deathmatch. Take no prisoners, comrades.
As well as achieving victory. But those issues can all be fixed, and the music in the actual game may very well be on par with the past games. So when looking past the crappy deals that actors have made of Sony, Modern Warfare looks set to once again be the FPS king, and a game that has the possibility of making history. Well, that ends this video on why Modern Warfare has so much hype riding on it, and why it may make history. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you agree or disagree with what I've said. As always, my Twitter account and Patreon are linked down below, and this video was made in part thanks to the generous support from Kruse. With that said, let's chat down in the comments, and if you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to leave a like, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next Shepherd Gimme video. Keyless Ally.